Cause now, our folk on our phone system, but
Here, you need help to get in, Alice? You got
I
nails.
got an intern over here. I see my peers are saying where they
Yes,
are.
sir.
They won't sign out.
Before we get started, who's taking roll?
I can do it.
Okay,
You got three. I guess you want a couple too.
I'm good. No, Louis. Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sure appreciate it.
I know you
Yeah,
did.
I'm right here.
I was being kind-hearted.
All right,
Okay.
So you did not plan on looking at this, huh?
oh, I'll check it out later. The monthly meeting of the Little Rock Housing Authority doing business as Metropolitan Housing Alliance has now been called to order. Director Benedicto, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Chairman Lowe,
Here?
Commissioner Lindsey,
Here.
Commissioner Jackson,
Here.
Commissioner Anthony,
Here.
Commissioner Peterson, We have a quorum.
Okay, you have before you the agenda items of addition, subtraction, modification. Chairman do reserve the right to move things around for expediency.
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and properly second, and that we adopt the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. You have before you, the minutes from December 21st.
And it's right behind your agenda.
Any additions, subtractions, modifications? Corrections?
Motion to accept the minutes of the December 21st meeting.
Second.
Been moved and properly second for the adoption of the minutes from December 21st. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. I don't have any cards for public participation, so Director Benedicto.
All right, so we're up for the Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8. Ms. Connie Johnson.
Good morning, Board. How are you?
Good morning.
You have before you the January report for the Housing Choice Voucher Department. I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Question. Why is the emergency voucher allocation
Still so low.
so low?
What do you mean the
The
allocation?
lease up.
Lisa.
Oh, individuals can't find housing.
Can't find housing or landlords won't accept housing?
Both, a combination of both.
As a part of this emergency housing process, are the units in the towers a part of their ability to select to go there?
No.
So emergency vouchers can't go into public housing, or they have to be part of a mixed development or sole proprietorship?
They can't be a part of our public housing department or our project-based units. If they choose a project-based unit, they would have to forego their voucher.
So do they cover mixed development, though?
Yeah, if the mixed development have units designated for affordable housing, then yes, you can use your voucher in those units.
Okay.
Is there any efforts going on, because these are slow rising numbers with all the vouchers that are out there? And of course, we know that there are different other units like People's Trust and everybody else who's also handling vouchers. Is there any group discussion or any great efforts going on from MHA to address this problem for those participants that we're involved in with?
Well, I have been actively looking around.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
Go ahead.
Some feedback.
Oh,
or
okay, I'm
something.
sorry.
Alpha needs to mute their mic.
Brandy,
That's Brandon's feedback. She needs
That's
to mute herself.
Alta.
somebody's feedback needs to mute.
She needs to mute herself.
Alpha.
Okay, Alta, would you mute?
Yeah, they need to mute yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
I've had a conversation with a number of individuals about possible vacancies or partnerships with landlords or something like that. And it's just it's a process right now. We just don't have any affordable units right now. And what we do have available, the units that are available, our clients have issues with past evictions, credit history, and things like that, criminal backgrounds. And while it's okay for the housing to accept them, the screening process for apartment units is totally different, and they're not required to adhere to HUD's screening process. So that combined is a major issue with our clients finding affordable units.
You know, these reports would help us if there was a breakout of reasons why we are not meeting the bottom line, you know, like we talk about landlords, like we talk about the credit reports. You know, if that's a part of the permanent records, as we move forward, so that it creates a history, for us, that would be great as part of
Yeah,
this.
because I'm wondering why, you know, only, not even half of the foster care grants are even leased up. And I guess they're running into the same problem as well, finding, either finding affordable units or DHS not making those recommendations.
Well, both, because we can only issue vouchers as we receive the referrals from DHS.
Correct.
And so once we receive the referrals that issue the vouchers, then it's on, we have to wait until the individual locates a unit. So yes, the combination of both is why we're such at a low issuance rate right now.
My concern, after the last months of being at Madison Heights, is that this issue is not getting any better. And there has to be some community discussion. I'd like to see MHA take the lead in calling that meeting, to have such a discussion, Director, to move the agenda and to have some open discussion about what's taking place in affordable housing. We tried to get a summit to talk about housing when the administration took over, because, and really that was kind of before COVID, and we saw this coming down the pike. Of course, with COVID and people leaving their northern roots to come to the south to be able to have space, it's gotten worse, and it's gotten worse quicker. But I would like to see a roundtable discussion, and we did have a couple of roundtable discussions. They were small, but I'd like to see us, and sooner than later, to see a roundtable discussion so we can openly address these issues, and those folks that actually are sitting out there with the issuance of vouchers, because I know there's a whole lot of miscommunications out there as well. And everybody's creating their own set of documents and this kind of things to send to landlords.
Well, I know the biggest one out there is the misinformation, and just because you have a record, we can't rent to you, which is not true.
No, and fair housing is just being run smooth over.
Yeah, the April,
2016.
2016 letter from Fair Housing unequivocally state
3
that
years.
that's not a detriment or determinant for housing.
And that's
So-
private nor public sector.
Right, so I think, you know, that part of the discussion needs to be had with landlords. You can't discriminate just because somebody got a record.
And it's 3 and 1 and not 7 and 3, is the ratio. And how they compute it is sometimes falsely
Right.
done. So, again, Director, I would like to see
Okay.
us do a roundtable discussion. And again, the board would love to be a part of that, and sooner than later, having that discussion. And it also needs to join the food desert, because what we're seeing is where people are able to get some affordable housing, food deserts are prominent as well, and there's no real solutions out there. So I think that, you know, for our residents, we need to foster that conversation.
And also to kind of tell our story a whole lot better, because there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misperceptions about quote-unquote Section 8 folks. That is very negative, okay? And it's not based in fact, and it's not based in truth. So, you know, I'd like to see us do a better job of, you know, spreading around the benefits of Section 8, okay? In any population, you're gonna have a percentage of folks that we consider rotten apples. I don't care what industry you look in, that's gonna always be the case. But we just need to do a better job of telling our own story.
And that would include county Section 8 as well, as folks at the table. Yeah, well,
Anything further from Ms. Johnson?
well, you know, like I said, having had the experience of acting in landlord position as part of Madison, that's a debate I'd love to have with anybody about what happens in the housing industry. Where the landlords are horrible, they're horrible, and where the renters are horrible, they too are horrible. They nightmare. Yeah, there's a whole debate, having hands-on experience we could have on that. But, Ms. Johnson, like I said, there are various reasons out there, and I hope that, through this meeting, that we'll come up with some solutions, because our numbers are still extremely low.
Yeah.
And even if we have to go back to HUD to discuss the fact that of our crisis as housing, to see what waivers might be available that we need to substantiate.
Well, I
And
think
they
the
should be a
thing
part of
here
this
is,
meeting, I mean, yeah.
I think the thing here is not necessarily with us and us having the waivers, it's with the landlords.
Landlords.
Because it's the landlords who are denying the clients when they have backgrounds. And so I understand they can't just necessarily look over our clients, those who have credit histories and things like that. But it's not with MHA, it's our clients who have issues with the landlords with backgrounds. So that's the issue, I think. Some kind of way, landlords need to be able to be a little more lenient, like we are, in accepting applicants. So when they're a little bit more lenient, knowing that you have guaranteed subsidies, then we can get more people in units. But until then, HUD can be as lenient as possible, but if the landlords aren't, then we're still in the same situation.
Yeah, because landlords are looking at their financial risk and how much money they're gonna be out of pocket,
That's right.
okay? And to them, and I hate to be this cold-hearted, it's more of a monetary thing.
Dollars and cents,
Yeah, more monetary instead of the human capital that's involved.
And I'm
So-
gonna fire back on you that when these people are landlords, that this is their retirement
Of
time.
course, of course.
And a renter come in and
But that's-
tear their stuff up.
Of course.
They ain't that,
I
in
mean,
fact,
it's a-
we have
it's a
seen
double-sided
landlords to
coin.
sell it. We've seen folks, I think there's a learning curve for both sides.
Right,
sides.
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
double-sided coin.
There's a learning curve for both sides. Because if
Because
you are struggling,
you cannot always put the blame on tenants.
Nope.
You have to put some blame on the landlord,
Yep.
because when you have, and I discussed this with some of my landlords, when you have clients who have 2, 3, and 4, 5 children in your household, you cannot not inspect your units frequently. You can't wait till the housing
Kids gonna
authority is
be
scheduled to
kids.
come out and inspect your unit before you then say, okay, let me go out and look and see what's going on. You've given that person a whole year
to
to
tell,
do damage. So it,
'Cause kids gonna be
it's a
kids.
partnership, not only with the housing authority, but as, the landlord and the tenant as well. Everybody has to work together, to make sure that the house stays habitable. And one of the misconceptions, Chairman Lowe, is what you were saying, is sometimes landlords think it's the housing authority's responsibility to police the tenants.
Oh, no.
And it's not.
Is that right?
And that's, again, where.
Misconception.
Yep.
Exactly. They feel as though they cannot evict the client because the client is on Section 8, and that's just absolutely not true. And so you have landlords who have allowed tenants to go without paying rent for months and months and months.
Yep.
And then when the tenant is ready to move, then they call us and say, well, hey, this tenant owes us, 6, 7 months of rent. And my question to them would be, and is often,
Why?
why didn't you police your lease?
Yep.
That's your responsibility, not ours. And so sometimes it leaves a bad taste in landlords' mouths, but I just think if we really partner more with the landlords, have more outreach meetings, and we can have many outreach meetings, but if the landlords are not participating in the meetings, it's so much that we can do.
Right,
So
But
we
I
have to
think
make
you
sure we
need to
get
also invite
landlord
fair housing.
participation.
right, right.
And fair housing needs to be in the room
Yeah.
Well-
when that meeting is held. Because again, I know that there's a lot of organizations that don't know the law under fair housing when it comes to those returning from incarceration and just the rights. We have city officials who don't understand that they're limited when
Right.
we're dealing with fair housing issues. That overrides the neighborhood objecting to
Yep,
something.
Yep. So my thing is, and maybe that we can work with NARO to offer a solution. Maybe having landlords a tax deduction to deduct a percentage of damages that a tenant may cause to be part of the housing. It's just a matter of discussion. Kind of sweeten that carrot a little bit, because they are taking a risk.
Yes, they are.
They are taking a risk, and they're providing a need that is sorely needed. So, I mean, it's just a suggestion, but I had that discussion, and maybe NARO could be the impetus or the leading factor. And, you know, and that's just a solution, and I know that there are many more out there, but that's just one.
Well, and I guess that needs to come out of that roundtable discussion
Mhm.
of folk coming to the table. And I think inspectors also need to be a part of that discussion, and how they handle tenant complaints
Mm-hmm.
with the landlords, because like I said, I've had some experience here. And some of what I see some of the inspectors do, and the consistency of how they handle complaints, and how residents will manipulate to go around the landlord to go right to the inspector and make that complaint. There's some things there that need to be balanced as to how this communication goes on. And even, you know, between CAHC and MHA, that we've had our bumps, but working those things out, how we get to a point of the tenant and the landlord being accountable.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think the inspectors also would need to be a part of that meeting, and someone from code enforcement, as we begin to have that real serious conversation about what's going on in Pulaski County when it comes to housing and the landlord tenant, and Neil Seeley, who's working on some of this stuff. He's got the renters,
Arkansas Renters Association.
Arkansas Renters Association, which is a entity that really works on issues of renters. But like I said, I think coming into this meeting, open-mindedness and balance and weighing it, because I'm saying to you, I have had an eye-opening experience that will leave you screaming at night.
Commissioner Lindsey?
Yes, sir. Well, this is not just a MHA problem. I mean, other housing authorities are experiencing the same thing. And like, I guess my question is, how do they, you got any idea to, you know, how do they deal with it?
Everybody's in the
Do the
same
same-
boat.
everybody-
Everybody's looking for resources
Yeah.
and ways in which we can address the problem. This is just not limited, like you said, to
That's-
MHA.
and
This
that's-
is housing authorities across the US. So we all have battled this issue, is battling this issue.
Everybody's got a stake
Yeah, but
in this.
And everybody has to
in
step up and play
rectifying
their
this
part
problem.
if we're gonna move forward.
Are we exporting some of these folks,
Porting out.
Yeah.
porting out?
Oh, absolutely. People are always pouring out.
I mean, as far as the emergency vouchers are
Yes.
concerned, we are porting out some of those individuals
They
to
are
others.
requesting to port out, yes.
Okay.
I figured they can't find it one place, they
They
find
go-
it
Yeah, I
somebody
get it.
else.
Yeah, as long as
That's not
they're,
always good for us, though. because
Right,
sometimes
that's
we
what I'm looking
lose,
at.
Say what now?
you
It's
know.
not good for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
wanna
mean,
keep
but it
all
works
our
vice
money.
versa though, doesn't it?
I'm
Well,
sorry.
those who poured in,
Yeah,
yeah, that
that's
works
what I'm
good for
saying,
us.
yeah.
I mean, it's a balance
Yeah,
scale.
okay.
It's a balance scale.
but if they can't find anything in Little Rock and they want to
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
Bono
yeah,
or
yeah,
Cabot
they're
or
gone.
some of these
Yes.
other places,
They're
Yeah.
gone.
I just wondered if that was one of the other mechanisms that we're opening up these opportunities to utilize these vouchers, is porting them
Yeah,
out.
they're port, they have that option to port out if they like, yes.
Mhm.
Go import it.
You ain't porting into nothing.
But, you know, your port out, so your
Yes.
port in has to do who's gonna pay.
Say
Who's gonna pay?
Hey, yeah, just like any other voucher, you know.
Yeah, who's
when
gonna
you-
pay?
Somebody gotta agree.
Yep. Is the receiving housing authority gonna pay, or are we gonna pay?
The receipt, yeah.
It has to do with cost, and how it's gonna affect your budget.
Yeah. So why would you come here?
Well, it continues to be a part that we need to discuss
Yeah.
and work through and bring as many people to the table as we can to have that discussion. So, Director Benedicto, like I said, if we can have that arranged sooner than later, I think we would probably pack the house somewhere to
I
have
know
that
that's real.
conversation.
All right, Director Johnson, we appreciate you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Director Benedicto?
All right, for finance, I'll ask Tamara Donnelly to come forward.
All right, well, kind of stole the show, y'all.
Kind of stole the show.
But, as you guys know, the end of the year, December, so we're still closing the books.
Mm-hmm.
But I did give you board reports. You have various, financial reports before you. Public housing, as of right now, they are above revenue and below expenses as we budgeted last year. Mainly because, you know, we're kind of in between management over there. It's not fully staffed as we projected, so the revenue is, a little bit more than what we expected, and the expenses are
There we go.
less right now. ACV, they are below revenue and below expenses, so they're looking pretty good, it's leveled out. NSP two, it cash flows, the expenses are below budgeted, and we have exceeded the revenue that we budgeted for. CLCC, as we know, it's below revenue and it's above expenses, so next year, we shouldn't see this issue again, because we have budgeted a balanced budget
Yeah.
with possibility of some cash flow.
Look out now.
Okay?
Oh.
Yes, sir. Cash flow.
Dougie.
You know, I had to make some compromises.
Well, that's.
Well, I did, so we're hoping that works. We did, start our new HCV
Mhm.
grant accountant. She's really good, so I feel that for now, at least through half of the year, we shouldn't need that extra person that we initially
great.
requested. So as I said, and CARES Act, we zeroed out, y'all, we
Yes,
spent
sir.
all the
Yeah.
money.
Yes.
It's
So
gone.
we're not giving HUD anything back. So that was great. Thanks to President Anthony and her staff for taking care of that. Are there any, like I said, we're still trying to close the books. I'm gonna try to have the books closed mid-February. So we're trying to get everybody to get all the invoices in.
Mhm.
And the thing about it is, and I do thank Tim, because they've had to do yeoman's work as we've taken over the property management, and we are contracting with them to do some of our finance from CAAC. And we have been inundated and swamped with everybody wanting some type of report or
Right.
some type, and knowing that we cannot get a lot of the information from the former property manager, we can only offer up September to present. And that satisfies some people, and some people want to fight about it, and we're saying, okay, we'll continue to do our best. CAAC is looking into a new software, or getting back to the old software where most of our data is housed, in order to see how we can build on that, rather than trying to rebuild everything in the present software that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So we're trying to get better. We're getting better every day in trying to get that information, but just want to thank the members of the financial staff of MHA for supporting CAAC in all of its endeavors.
Yes.
And we're working on MOUs that will be coming
Yes.
forward at a later time.
That Chairman Lowe should be happy with.
Yeah, when was the last time rents were raised on NSP two property?
Oh, was that 2 year, 2020? I believe it was the beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
We raised the rent.
And I know we're not getting any more NSP two units. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
No.
We're not getting
no,
them more.
We're not,
Okay.
that's over.
And they are an amp unto themselves.
Yes.
My thought and my question is, we know that they're losing money. We know that the rent is not high enough. How are we gonna overcome that?
what was the discussion around?
Raise the
the
rent.
red? What was, I mean, what was the discussion around, because I do remember there was some objection that, and I'm not sure if it was
Right.
at
I
at the
remember those
table or
objections.
if, but again, we weren't faced with what we're faced with now.
Correct.
Things going up, yeah.
Well, that, the cost of living has, and housing has gone up. I think that before we do it, we need to get some data,
Yeah.
that, some information that tells us where we can go and what we can do. Because
Something
we don't want to kill
reasonable, yeah.
nobody.
Yeah.
And see, my thing is, I know, and I know it was a federal program, and I guess we need to find out from HUD, can we sell those properties?
Would we want to?
I was gonna say, why?
Why would we
As
want
as
to?
a form
That's a
of
stream of
revenue?
income.
Yeah, but that's, but the rental is consistent.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah, the
consistent.
rental is consistent, but we keep losing money on it.
But
Yeah.
if we balance it, let's bring it into balance here.
Okay, and that was my question.
How do we
How are we
do that?
going to,
Raise the rent
yeah, that's the only thing we can do is raise the rent.
or what?
Yeah.
But you know, they don't have a lot of expenses over there, so.
So.
But I see what you're saying, it's not really just cash flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
We're
been
not
losing
seeing a
money.
big return.
Yeah, we've been losing money on them ever since. And
Right now,
I'm
we're
just
not.
saying.
We're not right now, we have a net cash flow of 10,000, that's right now though.
Yeah, it's right
I
now.
don't know.
At
Once
the
we
end of
close
the
it, it may be
year.
a negative.
But it lost last year.
Yeah, it lost last
Yeah,
year.
it lost last year.
So,
Well, I think it needs, you don't have enough information right now to make that decision, but I think it's something that we need to put on the plate that we need to look at
yeah.
and making an educated decision and not just flying by the seat of our pants.
And there may be a couple of vacancies over there too, so.
Well, did we have
right now-
one that got hit?
Yeah, one they got
One-
kind of
Yeah.
tore up.
Yeah, one that there was a shooting and the truck ran into the side of there at
Mhm.
11th and Woodrow.
Mhm.
That,
I mean, I'm just
Oh.
concerned that it
Yeah.
don't become a sinking hole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen that in the last couple of years, and looking at the balance sheet, that negative return. And I don't want it to become just where we just pouring money into it.
well, until we talk to HUD and know what strict restrictions are there, we're not in a position to make a decision. So I would ask that we get some directions from HUD, restrictions as to how high the rent can be raised in
Right.
this environment, what's the normal percentage of
Mhm.
rent raising, and if long-term, if we want to consider selling.
The rent that was raised in 20 was based on,
It wasn't raised dramatically. I mean, it was more
I mean,
like a cost of living. I mean,
mean-
correct me if
Yeah,
I'm
it might have
wrong.
been what?
It was
HUD's
$50.
approval.
It was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
$5.25, it was at the
How much?
time,
25,
it was at
$50.
$5.25 and it
Oh.
went to something else, it really,
It
Yeah,
wasn't.
It wasn't a big jump.
but
Yeah,
I
it
guess
wasn't a
my
big
question,
jump.
that was sanctioned by HUD. Is
No,
that right?
No,
that was.
us.
That was us.
made that
Local.
decision.
That was us.
All
it
right.
was local.
I mean, so what are you saying?
But, I mean, if he's asking whether or not
We can rate,
we can sell,
Mm-hmm.
Or
and yeah,
raise the rent.
but I would like to know what restrictions are
To it, right?
to it with the selling
Right.
and with the raising of
Oh, the
rent.
rent.
Right.
What cap is on that?
Mm-hmm.
And if we sell, that's absolutely no management for MHA. If we do get rid of that, we're done with.
So
The
we
management
talking about,
fees.
yeah, the management and bookkeeping fees
Mm-hmm,
on that amp.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
But right now, they're still not sufficient enough to turn a positive when we keep seeing those negative cash flows coming.
Yeah.
Something.
So I mean,
yeah.
it's a balance scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a balance scale.
You guys have any more questions?
No, that, I think that as
Not
part
today.
of the to-do is that, we just didn't have a discussion, but there's some action steps in there that we do check with HUD on the restrictions of the NSP2 and what the cap is on raising rent in this environment.
On page 5,
Uh-huh,
the central office cost center,
uh-huh.
that net cash flow, $645, that just looks weird.
That's for last year. I thought all the books were balanced.
It was a positive 600, that was
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah, it
close.
was, because
Mm-hmm.
at the, God rest his soul.
Oh, okay, all right.
Ron was transferred transferring.
Okay,
He was making sure CLCC was good.
Mm-hmm.
He would balance it out at the end of the year. So that's why.
he's getting that other, I heard that. I
Exactly.
got
He was
you.
waiting to the
Okay,
end of
I
the
see,
year
yes,
see-
sir.
to
And
see
then
where we
come
were,
here with slush
and
fund
he was
or
balancing
whatever.
us out.
All right, all right.
So that's
I
why
got
you see
I
that.
see.
And this is why we asked several months ago to give us
Longer
a
than-
true picture
Yeah.
of what we doing.
So we can have some sort of cushion at the end of the year.
Yeah, so, but,
So your statement, the state of the financial situation for the agency is that there's a light at
this
the
point.
end of the.
yeah.
The light at the end of the tunnel.
Most definitely,
All right, yeah. I
most
feel,
definitely. And hopefully we won't have to sell NSP too.
well,
I just love those units.
is that right?
When I ride by, I just feel proud to say that, you know.
That's
it's part
ours,
of MHA.
that's what we wanna feel about all our properties, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Looking on page 6,
Your
and
favorite
it's just,
page.
it's just a caveat, okay? And I'm looking at the payroll account. That's cutting it awfully close.
Oh, no, we don't wanna fund that, we just fund it as
What are we talking
payroll.
about?
Yeah,
looking at that
payroll
payroll bank
account,
account.
that's awfully
No, we don't
close.
keep money in there like that, Mr. Lowe. I just
okay.
transfer money.
I know, when you have
Yeah, I got
to,
you.
When
Yeah.
exactly know, I
Yeah,
know
I
how
got you.
much payroll is
Yeah,
gonna be.
yeah, but-
I leave just enough in there
Keep the
for like
account
little
closed.
fees that they
Yeah,
charge us,
yeah.
but we don't wanna,
that's, that's cutting it awfully close.
but I watch it.
Okay.
It doesn't go in the negative. But no, we don't need money in that account like that, just sit
Well,
there.
my fear is that when you do run it, that somebody come back, I didn't get paid.
No.
When I know that ain't gonna happen.
No, that's not gonna happen, cause as soon as we process payroll,
Mhm.
That, you got to do it
you see the
again.
inflows and
Right,
outflows.
right.
So that's what that is.
Like I
Tim,
said, it's just a caveat.
Tim, when we were having a discussion about the various different accounts that were sitting out there, did we ever resolve all of those different accounts that we had out there that nobody knew what they were, what functionality they had, and the various things? And that was part of that report that Mr. Delaney gave back during the summer. Did we resolve all those accounts?
No, they're still, I haven't touched them, so I think we need to revisit that.
Yes,
At some
ma'am.
point,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'll let you know what's really dormant and all that, and then we can,
What amounts in them, what has been some of the actions on them, and who has had action on them?
cause some of them we do need to hold, like FSS. We don't wanna touch that, that needs to stay, things like security, those need to stay separate, but there are different accounts that just kinda.
They popped up.
It's just there.
Yeah.
They don't do anything every month. Nobody touches them. I don't know the purpose. So we can look into.
Yeah, I know one of those
consolidating.
accounts was from that old dormant mom-mail partnership.
Yes.
That was out there. And that partnership is done, we sold it. And I was wondering why a certain amount of those where we can't just move on from them, that we know we're not gonna do nothing with, they're done and they're finished. And I guess just, a matter of doing the analysis, it says, okay, like the malt mill partnership, not gonna do nothing with
Yeah.
it. It's done and over with.
We can just, yeah.
Well, we just talked about them, and then we just kind of stepped away from it, and you're right, we need to revisit it, so we can have some conclusion. Mr. Chairman of Finance,
Yeah, I hear you. Page 25, and I think we talked about this before, the administrative bank fee, $11,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
That's cumulative now.
That's cumulative, yeah.
yeah, but that's, any way you want to look at that one, it's too
But my
much.
question is, and I guess, I think we asked it, is this, is that to be expected? Is
That's
this
to be expected.
This is a
and-
charge,
And the bulk of it is from that general, on the bank, the general fund.
okay?
That's where we pay the bills, we do everything out of that account.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
whatever we
very
do-
active.
Yes, they're charging us for all those transactions.
Now,
So-
isn't it some way we can negotiate those fees down?
You wanna sit down?
And forgive us for the fiduciary responsibility that we embrace.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we know how close to the blade we could have come, and not being able to balance the budget. So, you know, we're combing everything. Contracts,
Yeah.
everything else that comes
I don't
past us,
blame
we're seeing where this money is and
And
how.
guess what? What you
how it's
guys
done.
just talked about, eliminate some of those bank accounts,
Uh-huh.
that'll relieve
Yes, it
some
Some
of
of
will.
that.
those expenses.
Yeah, it will. Yeah,
So
it will.
that's why we need to look at that as
Okay.
well.
Yeah, but we know
They
some
gonna
of,
charge
some
us
of
bank
them,
fees, I mean.
we know
that's just-
some of them ain't going nowhere, like modernization, we know
No,
it needs to
we
be in
wanna
the
keep
zone, yeah.
that, that's like
We know
reserves.
section 8, it needs to be in theirs, okay? But this thing, special fund,
Right.
what is that
That's
used for?
one. That's one.
I mean,
Yeah,
what
it's
is
just
it
kinda-
used for?
There,
Well, you know, when
that
I
can be
hear,
moved out.
when I hear,
Moved out or closed out or
Closed
added to
out.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to see what it's used for.
does it have a balance on it?
Yeah, it does.
Like 30, is that 31,000?
Yeah, it does. It's 31,000. Almost $32,000 in that account.
I'm
Well,
saying,
where would it go?
General
I'm saying,
fund.
We put it in general
I'm
fund.
saying.
General
We
fund.
put in general fund,
yeah, all that needs to be looked at.
because they're probably so old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if there's been,
And
what,
900 CLCC.
again, I'd like to know what type of activity history it has had on it. Who set it up and for what reason? I hear special funds,
How
but,
far you
What
wanna
is
go
the
back? How
special-
far you
yeah,
wanna
what-
go back?
yeah, I wanna go back, I want some history on what happened, why that was created.
Yeah, I think there's some notes somewhere that I can pull.
It should, well, if you ain't got them, the bank got them.
Mm. Mhm.
And the activities that have gone on them and who was creating that activity.
And we can just move that money, get it out of there.
Okay.
Okay, page 29. The MHA reserve balances are a result of what?
Those are public housing
Yeah.
is included, Sunset.
Mhm. Well, I guess my question is, how did, so this reserve fund, how do we get those, or?
Those are probably just like, from past years, excess revenue that wasn't used, so they got moved over, into the modernization bank account. And I've only had to pull from that one time, and I told you guys
For
about.
each one
when
of
it had-
these,
Yeah.
so you pull from the,
I had to pull from Sunset.
Okay.
Central and Stevens, I hadn't done anything with theirs.
and what did we do,
Sunset,
what did you, when you pull, what did we do with them? What did?
it was
the
for,
reason?
they had pipe or something that had.
Yeah, it's a repair.
Oh,
It
yeah,
repairs.
okay.
Yeah, and it was
Okay.
like.
And that's what
that
this
cost
is,
was-
and that's
they
what
could
this
not-
is for, I got it. All right.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to touch
Okay.
it, because we may be able to use some of this with the, RAD conversion to help fund,
Mm.
so.
Yeah, usually after debt service is retired, there's usually a percentage that it goes in the
That's where this
reserve.
comes,
And that's where a lot of this came from.
and it's earmarked just for each one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
Got anything else?
Now,
And,
you stole the show, can't tell me.
You know, y'all gonna always have questions about this
I-
money. But, you know, the audit for CAHC is starting to
Yes, ma'am.
begin.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be working with your staff to
Yes,
try to
ma'am.
get the needs met as much as we.
As best as we can. I know that you did put out some calls to the staff of ITEX to see if they were willing to share information. And I think it's just as a point of record,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I found out about when McCormick Barron left things to ITEX, they had auditors to come in, make sure that the books were straight. They made sure that all ITEX had to do was come in and sit down.
Mm.
We did not have that situation that we walked into.
No.
Nah, too many
No,
feelings.
and again, in dealing with our lenders and everybody else who is poking around on us, we just didn't have that courtesy of proper business etiquette being administered. But we too are working from that, and we'll make it happen
Yes.
as
we
best
will.
we can.
Yeah, we will. guys good?
We good, Tamara.
Okay.
Appreciate you, ma'am.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Legal, you ready for me, Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, legal report. Let's see, this ought to be fun. Okay, so,
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. The board got a different attitude about legal this year.
all right, with the, for declaration of trust, status remains unchanged from the previous board reports. Still waiting to hear something back.
How long has that been sitting out there?
So I actually think it predates my
Yeah, it predates
coming,
you.
So I don't know.
What's the normal standard on declaration of trust? And I'm gonna say this as a prerequisite to everything that we have in legal. We have sat back and been just like perfectly well-mannered children. And we know we're targeted.
And it's steady coming.
And I mean, the fight is outside and it's also within.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna put some motions on the floor at the end of this legal conversation that causes us to take a proactive, no, but anyway, whatever steps need to be taken for all these barriers that we are meeting that are not normal business for housing authorities in the normal situations. And I go back to the steps that we took in 2021 to work in-house. There was a letter that was written to the HUD field office. Well, first of all, we tried to get a OIG investigation on our own. But because regions had changed and different dynamics had changed, we didn't get that done. We later asked the HUD field office because we wanted to clarify. We have nothing to hide. We want to make sure that everything is above board.
Right.
We asked the HUD field office, there's a letter that's out there somewhere that we actually wrote them and say, join us in doing this request, so everybody gets looked at and we move this situation along. That never happened.
Nope.
Then we filed a complaint at the Secretary of HUD's level, where we got the general counsel involved, and I think that was back in July. So and without a big ta-da, or look at what we're doing, we did this stuff quietly in-house and effectively to try to resolve some issues. That has not happened. So since July, we've really not gotten any feedback from anybody about anything that has to do with those operations that are normal relationships and flows for housing authorities with the HUD field office and the declaration of trust, or with the HUD field, with national office and hearing back about the compliance reviews and those kind. And God knows that COVID gets blamed for everything at this juncture. So we know that COVID has some bearing, but just simple communications is what we're lacking. And so there are some documents that we need to be moving forward with to make sure that we do not cost this agency any undue processes because of things around us rather than things we have done to injure the agency. So I'm going to be requesting some letters that we can all sign off on to exact our position in some of these situations.
I'm about at the point, and excuse my French.
Please don't use it in the Please don't use it.
Hey, you get a little bit older, like I say, that filter gets turned off,
You will
okay?
get ridden up so bad.
Yeah, that filter gets turned off, but I'm at the point where, for lack of a better word, the hell with those outside influences. We need to do what we need to do to keep these doors open.
Yeah.
Okay? And we're talking about poor folks here.
Yeah.
Okay? The amount of obstructionists that people are doing all over $1 and keeping poor folks out of housing. And me personally, I don't understand it. That's supposed to be our mission. That's supposed to be an integral part of our value statement, but I don't see it. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Biddle versus MHA. So the only update there is that After the December 6th motion was filed by MHA Council, Biddle has filed a motion to extend her time to respond. So that's just where we are there.
So there hadn't been any traction on that?
No, MHA Council had no objections to the motion
Okay.
for her to have a longer time to respond. Nash versus MHA, so on January 18th, a motion was filed, Nash filed the motion seeking an additional $1 million for alleged harassment and $35 in attorney fees.
35,000.
Yeah.
35,000.
MHA counsel states that the motion is procedurally improper and lacks substantive merit. She advised that she believes the motion will be dismissed on those grounds.
Of course, they got to have a hearing.
So the SCLC Enterprises, which is One Call Service Group versus MHA. So CAT counsel Sylvester Smith filed the motion to dismiss the complaint on December 31, 2021. It was based off the motion that, or the complaint that One Call actually filed, failed to produce the invoices that were supposed to be allegedly attached to the complaint. It didn't sufficiently identify MHA properties. It was a failure for the plaintiff to establish a contractual relationship between them and MHA. So that's the basis of that motion to dismiss. In terms of Jarman versus MHA, MHA legal counsel reports that contact has been made with Jarman's attorney, and they expect to hear back within the coming days. For the Anthony Snell, having filed a claim directly with the MHA insurance carrier, alleging constructive discharge. MHA counsel prepared a response letter, and they report they've heard nothing further from
Discharge
Snell's
versus
attorney.
resignation. Okay.
At present, no suit has been filed. And let's see, and I'm just waiting for an update for the very last one, which was the notice to property owners of labor's, mechanic, or materialman's claim. So I'm pretty sure Attorney Smith will get back with me soon on that.
Mr. Chairman, I need to put a motion on the floor that the board writes a letter to our attorneys in all of the matters, Jarman, Snell, and Nash, requesting court proceedings. We know that it is the right of the attorneys in this case, in these cases, to decide whether or not a court hearing or a settlement is provided. But in settlements, the truth just does not get a hearing.
No, it don't.
So I would like to put a motion on the floor that we write a letter to our attorneys encouraging their aggressive seeking of a court hearing in all of these matters so that the truth can be heard. I don't know how some folks, and the thing about it, we've even seen that people don't mind signing a lie to a sworn affidavit because they know it's not going to be challenged in court. And these lies have to be costly. And when there is no cost to the lie, nobody minds telling them. And nobody minds putting it out there to see what monies can be obtained from them. So, because I don't see anything that this board has done, constructive, whatever, versus resignation, versus hostile environment, versus being asked to come to town to do your job. Let's do this. Let's go to court. We have a right to face our accusers and make them come forth with evidence and truth in all of their claims. And like I said, that never makes it to the paper. It never makes it to the general public of what, and you know, I'd love to see a full investigation of all these claims to tell the true story of what's behind this, who's behind it. If we got a panic gate going on here, or what exactly is taking place up in this place with all this mess that keeps coming to us. But it is time that the board stops sitting silently when we know that there's evidential truth that
Should come out.
that should come out.
And I think that's a motion, right?
It's a motion.
And I
Wait,
second
wait,
that.
wait, 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 wait. I think she
She got to say going.
Yeah,
And
you
so
know,
now
I'm just saying up.
restate the motion
Oh, she did, okay.
to include interrogatories and affidavits.
Yes, sir. And that to
Because, see,
include
with-
all of their collaboratives and fellow
That's why I said,
conspirators.
that's why I
Yes,
said
sir.
restated, that to include interrogatories and affidavits.
Mm-hmm.
That way, everything's included
And
as well as the
and
testimony.
we ain't settling for nothing.
No, sir. We have no
So
desire
it's
for a
a-
settlement.
Easy
If
way
you
out.
could restate the motion.
That- It was a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
But just,
That a letter
To our
be
attorney.
sent to our attorneys requesting court actions, that we actually go to court and not provide settlements.
Yeah.
And all the cases that are before us by former employees.
Yes.
And I guess I need to put it that way, former employees, that we be given our day in court and that we have all the interrogatories,
interrogatories and affidavits. as
affidavits
well.
be a part of this, and that we do not support settlements.
Got a motion on the floor?
second.
Been moved and properly second, and we have correspondence with our attorneys to include interrogatories and affidavits as well as testimony in court concerning
All
cases
sir.
against MHA.
MHA?
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? None opposed, motion.
Well, we didn't hear from Brandy.
Brandy, yeah.
Brandy, did you?
You still with us?
Brandy,
Don't look like it.
Brandy,
Dr. Peterson,
get off mute.
she can't hear.
Get off mute.
She's talking to somebody.
We can't hear her, but she should be able to hear us.
Okay.
Dr. Peterson,
Did you hear the motion?
Hold on, Court.
there you go.
Did you hear the motion?
Wait, I can't hear nobody. Okay, sorry. What you
Did,
say?
did you hear the
We said-
motion?
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I didn't hear the motion. I'm sorry. Somebody came in and was talking. I'm sorry.
Would you repeat the motion, Mr. Chairman, since we've taken the vote on?
I'm sorry.
There was a motion put on the floor to have a correspondence with our attorneys.
Oh, yes, I heard that. I heard.
Okay.
And your vote is,
Yes.
let's do this.
All right.
And then one of the things, anything unprocedural and procedurally correct.
Yeah.
Director Benedicto.
Yes, all right, so procurement is up next, and Jada Johnson will share some procurement information with us.
Hello, everyone. How are you
Good
doing
morning.
today? I'm here to give you all a procurement report for the contracts that are associated with the Housing Authority. And it's been brought to our attention over the past couple of months that there is a need for transparency in the contract and procurement department. So in an attempt to give you all that transparency, our team, including the finance team, has decided to provide you all on a monthly basis with a listing of the contracts. In those listings, we have broken them out into different sections, and you will see in your board report today that those sections will include active contracts, showing all contracts at the begin and end dates, contracts that are currently awaiting approval. There is a contract calendar that's in your packet. This calendar was made specifically for all the contracts that are considered to be active, giving a 90-day notification date. So you all will know when those 90 days are up. And there's another tab in there that will be, that is expired. Those contracts are considered to be outstanding. And then there's also another tab that you'll find in your binder today that includes the monthly reoccurring contracts. Now, you all had made a motion in March of 2021 that stated each contract is to be evaluated, and you agreed upon the tool of what a contract evaluation would look like. So upon the 90 days of expiration of these contracts, it'll be our responsibility to make sure that the contracts have been evaluated and signed off by the appropriate staff member, and that we present to you a letter from the vendor requesting that they are allowed to enter into a contract or extend their contract.
They're requesting.
One of the most important things that when I solicit for the contracts to go out on the street, it was a request that was made by the Board of Commissioners to have the contracts out for a minimum of 3 years. We did have them out for 2 years. It was asked us to bump it up to 3 years. So we offer a 3-year contract as a base contract, and then and then also offer 2 one-year extensions. It has been noted that the board has requested that no automatic extensions will be given to any contract. So what happens on the 90-day prior to those base contract expiration, again, we will have the contract evaluation forms, and then we also have a letter from that vendor requesting to have an extension to the contract. At that time, it will be up to the Board of Commissioners to make the decision if you all want to extend the contract.
I want to be clear on a couple of things. First and foremost, any extension has to be the request of the vendor.
Exactly.
Okay. That is not something that is automatic or that is a rollover. It is CFR that it has to be requested. And at that point, like I said, the evaluation is taken into consideration. That contract still comes before the board along with the evaluation of what that person has been done before, and it is the board's responsibility to agree to extend that contract. On the 3-year contracts, are we saying that there is no evaluation being done on the quality of service that those individuals are providing during the 3-year period that they have a contract?
That would be something that you all can agree upon. At the time that we're doing service, if I hear, what happens is, the contract and procurement office hears when the service that's being provided is bad. I don't necessarily hear they're doing great, you know what I mean? Or I might hear it every once in a while, but if I do hear that the contract that is, the service that's being provided under a specific contract is bad, then we call those contractors to the table and have some discussion on timeliness, responsive, you know, or we may have to negotiate some pricing or something like that. All of those things are normally documented in a digital file. But other than that, we don't have something in place like like we would evaluate them at the end of their contract.
Okay.
Well, look, that 3-year, it was just a baseline.
Right.
Even though all contracts are negotiable, it was just that we had accepted because we had contracts a year here, a year there, that the 3-year would be a suggested baseline for the duration of how we acquire and do services. Commissioner Lindsey?
Yes, sir. All right. Let's look at this, what we got right here.
And that's under the active?
Huh?
Is that under the active?
This is under the active. This, what we have here is a list of every contract we have, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, help me. This is what I see that needs to happen. You got a begin date, we got an end date. Prior to that end date, we would like to have a review of that contract.
Right.
90 days. So, you know, we got one that's in the 6/1/22. 90 days prior to that 6/1, we need to get some sort of evaluation of that contract,
So it'll be
And-
3/1.
It'll be in March, right?
right?
If it ended in June,
All right.
right?
That'll get us started. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do that for every active one. So we would, so next meeting, we'll have all of these contracts with the review date,
Exactly.
90 days prior to their end.
Yes.
And we'll have some sort of idea about how they're doing and what they're doing.
For
Right?
the ones that are coming up.
For the ones that are coming up,
Or
yeah.
do you want, are you saying that you want me to review all of these
No, ma'am.
contracts?
No, what he's saying, as they come up, that
Yes.
90-day period should
Exactly,
be.
that's, we're on the
it should
same
be
page.
stable.
We're
But
on
we
the
don't
same-
have it here.
You want it on the sheet,
I wanna,
Right.
that's exactly right. I'm sorry.
like you want it on the column,
Mhm.
like review that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
And then, yeah, and so come next, yeah, and so then we could manage this right here.
Okay.
Okay.
You want it on
All
one
right.
page instead of two, because I have it on another page. So I
Okay.
got you. I can make that happen.
All right.
So when the contract goes out, on the 2 1-year options, before they're allowed that option,
We
they
go-
have, it has to come here.
Thank you.
Exactly.
That's,
Okay,
that's that
that's-
90
that's-
days. That's
that's-
what we wanna see, right?
Okay, because
Now,
at
the
the end,
second
and that's at
thing-
the end of their contract, we see it.
The second thing, if you notice on that sheet, is whether or not we still want to do the group or go to an individual.
Right.
So we had mentioned that previously. That's whether or not we want to stay with group contracting or go to a single
Pool,
entity.
pool.
Well, pool contracting, or whether or not we want to, we hadn't had that discussion.
But this will give us time to have that type of
Yeah,
discussion.
because what we saw with the pool is that it was not being accessed according to the rules of a pool vendorship. Because by right, if we use this one this time, we should use this one the next time, this one this next time. And if that one in line that decided that they didn't, but you have to do the notifications and whatever to say that at least you offered it to them. So, yeah, we do need to visit as part of the policy if we want to come away from the pool and just take the best bid or whatever
Right.
in this situation. Because what I'm seeing is that we're not getting the benefit of using the pool in the first place, so.
Second, and I know Ms. Johnson hadn't gotten to it yet, but it's a matter of public record, and I've discussed this with Director Benedicto. That submission that BKD did, in my opinion, is invalid.
Because.
Erroneous dates, not enough substantive information on the contract. That's my take.
Okay.
So what we do?
Like I said, I'd like a little more discussion on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that's part of the procurement,
Okay.
So.
which we gotta vote on anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
So as a matter of making sure that the board is made aware of the 90-day performance period, the 90-day prior to expiration of a contract period, the procurement staff has included both the interim executive director and the director of finance on a 120-day calendar notification. So we'll all get the notification 30 days, 120 days, and then you guys will get the notification at the board meeting 90 days prior to the contracts expiring. And as we had discussed in 2021 with Commissioner Lindsay, there were a few contracts that we want to review as we move forward into 2022 to clean up these records that we have at all these different locations. So as we began our discussion, we went down some of the outstanding contracts or the ones that were awaiting approval. And when we go through these processes, we normally evaluate, per se, each of the contracts. We do a cost reasonability test. We look at the procurement guide to see if it's going to fall under the small purchase threshold, or do we need to send it out for solicitation? So we do as much as we can up front before we even bring this information to you. So what our discussion was about were, there were a couple of items that were on the table that were awaiting approval. AMSCO, Arkansas Copier, the laser printers, which is Xerox, and cooperative agreements. AMSCO was on the record as being an expired contract because when you initially hired AMSCO, you hired them to put some security access plates at our front doors here in the foyer. and also on the exterior doors. So you contracted to do that work is done at a one-time basis. But after the work is done at a one-time basis, we don't need to go back and do it again. But you still have that maintenance cost and you still have that software cost that comes on an annual basis to be able to maintain the door access and accessibility to making badges. So I know it's a small thing, but still, I feel the need because money is being spent on this for you all to see it in the contract law. So what is happening is we have maintenance fees and we have license fees that we definitely need to move forward to make sure that our equipment is working correctly to provide safety to the building. At this juncture, it would be cheaper for us to keep in place what we have other than to go out and get new stuff, okay? So you will see contracts of this nature coming up on this contract law, and they will show as being required to even review them on an annual basis, because this is some of the things that you guys are asking for, okay? So we will be very clear that this contract is not gonna be expired anymore. It's going to be on a recurring basis, like Commissioner Lowe has asked that it show up on our systems. But at this point in time, when you ask that you need to have approval moving forward on our contracts, of course, I have to bring it to your attention and ask you all for the approval to move forward on these contracts like AMSCO, the Arkansas copier, the laser printers. So today, that's kind of some of the discussion that you all have had in your board reports. I've had it with Commissioner Lindsey. We want to move forward with cleaning up these files and getting some of these products that we don't need any longer, save the agency some money. And we want the board to, really support what we're doing to move forward.
And all of this is necessary so we have a clear understanding of where we are financially.
Exactly.
This was the whole reason why we started this process back before Mr. Delaney left, is because we know we've got a lot of scattered stuff out there. And we didn't get to a point where we had to restructure without some things being out of place. And we didn't know what was going on, especially on those things that we're responsible for, like the policies of procurement and like the fiduciary responsibility that comes with the bank account. So this is a great start.
It's a start,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a great start. And the thing that we want is not only the start, but the consistency of knowing that every 90 days that we're going to get those things in a timely fashion to review, so that, if there's ever an audit, they're not looking, because the audits are the responsibility of the board, and they come here hunting for us. So want to make sure that they don't look at y'all, they look at us. So we want to make sure that we're in order.
So,
But it's a great start.
yeah, what we're looking at here under awaiting approval, the MRI, Tin Master software. I mean, that's an ongoing,
Don't have to
It's
be.
out for bid.
Don't have to be.
at this time it is.
Yeah, this time it is,
At this
but-
time,
but
we
it
have a
doesn't.
contract with them.
No, we don't.
We do not.
Nope.
What are we waiting on? What's the,
It's
what do
been-
we need to do?
We got it out for bid.
Put it out
It
to
is
bid.
currently out to bid, so this is these, are all of these out to bid?
No,
Okay, so,
let me look at the page that you're looking at.
right here.
You're looking at the
Second page,
recurring?
yeah.
This says,
Waiting.
awaiting
Awaiting
approval
approval.
law.
Hold on.
This is a log that you have. The auditor is still out.
Yeah.
Right, so we got to vote on that.
Right.
The construction management is awaiting approval.
Is waiting for,
Yeah, but we got some
I'm,
obstruction.
yeah, cause see, I'm kinda concerned about that.
Yeah, we got some
Because the
obstruction.
bill office doesn't have the authority to hold up any red property. They don't have that authority.
okay.
But again,
So,
that's one of them
so
little.
this is, it's dormant. We have a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a contract.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we got a contract with, for construction management.
Yeah, that's what,
But they call themselves waiting on implementation when folks
it
overstep,
should be,
folks
yeah,
overstepping
we should be
their
moving
boundaries.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have.
Yeah, Folks overstepping their boundaries.
Well, we're gonna move
The
to.
cooperative agreement source well.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the cooperative agreements very much. But, HUD has sent, HUD has, and even our procurement policy authorizes us to do cooperative agreements to save time and efficiency. But my question to the board and also to you was, who do you all authorize to, execute these, contracts for services? And, who would you authorize to, finalize, like the walkthrough and the work that's being done under these contracts?
Contracting officer.
Sir, is the ED?
ED,
Okay,
right?
And the contracting officer,
Okay.
so,
per the CFR, per to
Yes,
CFR
sir.
200,
What we've got
contract,
in
the
place
contracting
here, and
officer.
that's the state, yeah.
and you're like, there's a couple of,
Well,
there's a couple of vendors that fall under it.
okay, let's do these, and then we'll get to that. I'm sorry, I'm just slow like that.
I know it's been
Hey,
a
take your
while.
time.
Yeah, he on it.
Arkansas copier,
Hand me that.
got 5 machines, right?
Yes.
And,
No, ma'am, you cannot have my candy.
and so what do we, wait, so what's the problem?
Okay.
What's the problem with those?
The problem with these, is that you wanted to actually wait, because my initial recommendation was to take the amount down from 5 to 3.
3, that's exactly right.
I wanted
Is
to
that
take
one
it
of
down
the-
to 3. And that would have included the one over Elm Street.
Yeah,
5 to 3.
Yes,
The copy.
Oh, yeah, that one was too big to be
Yeah,
over
we
there.
getting rid of
Right,
that.
yeah, we getting rid of that one.
okay, so that one's gone,
Yeah.
all right? So it's 4 copies.
There, and then one's at Sunset, and there's 3 here. But we had the conversation, and I was waiting for the approval to be able to move forward with the initial suggestion, but you wanted to make sure,
That the copiers that we got there, all right, and that should reduce that cost some, 200,
yeah,
yeah, okay,
Just a little bit.
yeah. And then we talked about the control,
yeah, and
I'm
so.
scope. All right, what about, now, lawn service, Jewel of Lawn,
Yes, sir. That was sent out for open solicitation locally. Was
Okay.
posted in the newspaper, and it was posted on our website. Did an evaluation on the current vendor, got the pricing back from 3 different vendors, was asked to take out 2 of the site locations that were under the Central Arkansas Housing Corporation, and one was the MHA Hyde Park, I believe, and was asked for them to price that. That information is in your packet, and it still came back that Jewel of Along was the least expensive. There is a grow season, which is 7 months,
okay,
and there's an estimated cost that if we had to use their services outside the grow season, that is combined within that. When I took a look at the property over at Sunset Terrace to see what type of, how the grass looked, it looks good. But it does look like it needed in some places some lawn service to remove the leaves away from the location. But outside of that, it's a regular contract that has a grow season. There was a little bit more added to if we needed additional services outside of the grow season that has to do with cutting trees and doing leaves.
it seems awful high.
It's a
Well, they
3-year
also
contract.
want to do pruning,
Yeah.
that stuff off-season,
Yeah.
pruning,
Yeah,
Which
keeps the yard looking great.
Yeah,
because
And it
those are
keeps
the
the pests
services
away.
that,
yeah.
The
Yeah.
termites away from the house.
yeah, it's one of the services that Maya, who does,
That what?
Maya is the service that we use out at Madison Heights, and they come in.
Well, I wonder how many kids get to partake in Section 3 with that vendor? How many of our kids
Yeah.
are participating with Section 3?
Well, we can ask.
I doubt if kids wanna do that work.
Well, anytime you start talking money, they all
Like
is.
I said,
They all is,
we talking manual labor.
yeah.
So what are we saying here?
Well, I'm just, we should be looking at that in every contract that we do, particularly those that involve skilled labor, is whether or not we've got our folks, meaning kids and adults too,
Exactly.
dealing with Section 3.
Okay. Moving, what about the GSA cooperative agreements?
Yes, those are
These
additional.
three, these bottom three, what are they? So I'm assuming they together or,
They're separate. They're
Yes.
separate companies that have,
so we don't have a contract with them? These,
no, we don't have a contract with them, but the state and or TIPS or interlocking purchasing agreement that mimics what the state does has signed off on these entities to do business with.
and they are a part of our,
I'm asking that we make them a part of our contract so we can have the option to use the
As
resources
we
that they
need.
have available as we need it. Because, like Omni Partners, they are signed up with HD Supply. There's a TIPS International Purchasing System that's signed up with electrical, plumbing, and some type of construction and disaster restoration
It's just basically a
services.
catalog of services that when we bid out, that those folks will be available to bid, that's all. A catalog of services.
Yes, yeah, and they've already been approved like by the state.
By
So-
the state.
So
So-
GSA, sometimes when I go and have to, get some electronic equipment, I can directly go to Dell because Dell has already been vetted by
Okay, yeah.
by the state.
so are any of the contracts that we currently have a part of these cooperative agreements?
Any of the vendors that we
That
currently
we
have?
currently use?
Yes, a part of these agreements,
These-
but I'm trying to make it a formal process. So I'm trying to make sure that we have a contract in the contracting office that represents our authorization to use those vendors on an ongoing basis.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
You good?
So,
just
I mean,
a
this
catalog
is a
of
formal
services,
process,
that's
so
all,
all of these contracts are formal contracts, right?
And if
All
you
right,
say
so
it's okay, then
my
I'll
question,
move. And if you guys say it's okay, then I'll move forward and have them signed off.
yeah, because we already have contracts with them. They're
We've
on
done-
that list.
Yeah, we've done business with them in some.
We've got contracts with them.
Yeah, under
Yes,
a
and they're
purchase
on that
order or
list.
something like that.
All right, and so you have some way of knowing, telling, well, these are a part of the GSA on that list, and you know, right?
Exactly, yes.
And so when they come up to be renewed, you could tell us that these are a part of
Of the
our
GS,
cooperative.
exactly.
Okay, thank you. All right. That's all three of these.
There's four, I believe, yeah.
Huh?
There's four of them.
GSA, TIPS, and
And the
Omnipod
Omnipod.
Planning.
Hold on, let me look at.
Where's the other
It's
one?
right here, hold on, let me look.
Oh, the source well?
Yes, Sourcewell too.
Okay, the source will, are all part of those, so when they come up for, you can tell us. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. What we need to do next? On these, they're waiting for approval, we discussed them, so we need to make a motion to go, for her to go ahead and,
Well, we need a formal adoption, meaning need a formal resolution to do
I was
so.
gonna say, I think we need to do a resolution.
Yeah, there needs to be a resolution
Something
in
in
here.
writing.
So I don't see one in today's
We
packet.
need to do it next time.
huh?
I don't think we.
That's just a
there isn't one.
resolution that, okay,
Okay.
okay.
And with that, I think I'm pretty much done. If you all have any additional questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for
Okay,
you.
okay.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate you, Ms. Johnson. Director?
All right, Chairman, for development, I have no new updates regarding development.
All righty.
All right, do we want to,
So, anybody got a, Ms. Anthony, you got a report on your subcommittee? You and Brenda?
So.
Um, yes, sir. Yes, sir, we have one,
Okay.
one big one. The board has been in, search, of an ED, and we got some fine candidates. And of course, the board had some specifics that we were looking for in making the decision as to who the next ED might be. We were a lot more earnest in vetting the position because of past experiences. We wanted to make sure that there was some true vetting processes put into place. We had extended the contract of the interim director to January the 15th and felt it necessary to move toward making a final decision on this position in order that we can move forward. And the board, the employment committee today is asking the board to join them in offering the interim director, Ms. Erica Benedicto, the permanent position of executive director of MHA. And in offering her this, I want you to understand that Erica came in during a very turbulent time for this agency with a massive cleanup to do during this process. And just recently, having to handle the issues of the pandemic in our own building where there was no breakout, but she handled it as responsible leadership in the building to make sure she kept all of our employees safe. And unfortunately, we had folk who wanted to say the manner that she had was an indication that we had a breakout, and we did not at any of our locations.
Not a good building.
But she has done due diligence in making decisions, keeping the board informed, representing herself well with our partners, and keeping them informed where they needed to be informed, and basically just putting on the armor to survive along with the board in many of the battle situations that we've been in. So we're trying to create a system of consistency, integrity, accountability, and transparency in this position. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, the Employment Committee is recommending the signing of a contract for the permanent position of Executive Director to our interim director, Erica Benedicto. And I will make the motion for the adoption of our recommendation for a contract to be offered to her.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
Yes. I second.
Been moved and probably second that we adopt the recommendation of the Employment Subcommittee to name Erica Benedicto as the permanent executive director of the Metropolitan Housing Authority. You got your mic on, Brandy?
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. Welcome aboard, Director Benedicto.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this contract will,
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this, taking effect immediately or?
Effective immediately. All our resolutions go into effect unless there's another date authorized, so she's it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
So you can take that interim tag off.
yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
So loud.
You sit in the big chair now.
You say a big chair.
Can I get one now?
Huh?
Yeah, get a contractor.
Oh,
Test right there.
Dude.
to the press, here you go to the test, before you have that.
You got an extra one, right?
I do.
Okay, y'all can sign them.
That stuff goes to Ms. Anthony.
Yeah, sign it. Okay, that's basically, our report. There's a lot going on, as we continue through the process of advertising the jobs that were part of the organizational chart and the restructuring. The compliance manager's, job is out there. The
HCV grants manager was recently hired, started Monday.
Right.
And customer service receptionist, Ms. Jackson, will be starting with us full-time as well.
Okay. So we are moving forward to streamlining, but trying to be efficient in how we operate moving forward. Again, the compliance manager's job, we know is going to be one that's going to be really job affecting to make sure that we don't hit these hiccups that we've had in the past, to make sure that in every department of the agency, we are in compliance with the regs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's our report.
But the only thing I got to report is that kiosks have been ordered. We are in line. We're just awaiting their arrival so that we can start the appropriate training. And let the public know that the technology that we're putting in kind of helps alleviate some of their frustrations as well. But that's all I have.
And it creates
Oh,
another layer of safety and efficiency for our staff.
I need to coordinate with you, Ms. Anthony. However, Director Benedicto is doing the hiring process and interviewing process of an IT director at this time.
I
Okay,
am.
So to have that coordination,
okay.
Brother Jackson.
I have a very short report. First things first, we're in the process right now to get the main board started.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Jackson. Can you speak up? Thank you.
Okay.
You heard what she said.
I'm gonna keep my comments to myself. Anyway, like I said, my report is gonna be short. We're in the process now of trying to get the main board started, which we had planned to do after the holidays. I have contacted Ms. Brown and was in the process of attempting to contact Mr. Dukes, Warren Dukes, and trying to get the president of Power Towers so we can get this on the way. Once we get everybody into place, then we're going to go to the training to get everybody up to par with the training. That being said, all on the meetings part, on the board part, everything right now seems to be going through with the security. I've given a woman as far as Josh is concerned. Josh has took a lead to it. They have security that has stepped up on Paris Towers as well as the other towers, but Paris Towers was the main one that we need to look at. So Paris Towers, Gorman has stepped up with the security, and they have got in touch with Little Rock Police to have more patrols through those buildings. I know we did have an incident at our building, but since then, police have been patrolling that area. Better yet, they've been sitting across the street at the parking lots down there. So now the security is getting beefed back up. That's a good thing because it was getting far out of hand, especially for Paris Towers. And so it's a good note. We got security going now, and that's about it.
Election at Powell, are you talking about an election at Powell Town? Are you talking about an election at Powell Town?
No, they got their thing in place. We're just trying to get the big board in place.
Governing board.
All,
Yeah, the governing board.
Governing
all three,
board.
Yeah.
all three of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Lindsay?
Okay, I don't have anything, except that the issue of our, audit, I think that we just need to get a hold of that ASAP. That needs to be one of the big things that we look at and work on. Okay.
Well, there were 5 firms who submitted bids, but like I say,
They were all out of state?
no, all but one was out of state.
Is that right? Okay.
And I think that if you look at it, like I said, the dates were inappropriate.
The what?
The dates were inappropriate.
Yeah, all right.
They were past the closing date, and me personally, as a matter of integrity and ethics, I won't be voting on that firm one way or another.
Well, because we had some subsets about what we were looking for, it may be necessary that we put it back out there,
Yes.
in order to meet.
Well, let me give you some time frames.
That's,
But I'm saying because of.
2020, 19 hadn't been complete.
right,
Okay,
2020 was extended to March 2022.
that's 2 months from now.
I got that, Mr. Love.
Okay.
But I'm saying,
Either way it
We
go,
go-
we need to take
we
some
will take
steps
some
in order to rectify, whichever way it is, we need to do that. The other issue was our IRS, no word,
Ain't heard nothing about it.
thus is my report.
If I could, I'd like to give my thanks to Executive Connie Johnson. I had an incident where a guy had problems with his voucher, and he went to a different location which he was sent to, and some kind of way misplaced his voucher. And I called Ms. Johnson, and one of her staff members, with her help and the staff members' help, was able to solve the problem within hours. So I wanted to appreciate tell her thank you for that, because that's the only person I knew to call about the vouchers. And once I called her, about an hour later, the staff member called me back and told me everything was straight, that he could come pick his voucher up. So thanks a lot.
Director?
Well,
all business.
Hey, Josh, you on? Josh. Calling Josh.
Yeah, his hand is,
it's on.
yeah,
They called me yesterday.
maybe he went to sleep or he's on a phone call.
Hey, Josh.
Going once?
Twice.
While he's waiting, in our February 17th meeting, we will have Gorman executive staff as a part of our meeting. Mr. Swinton and Mr. Towns
Will Town.
will be in town to attend our meeting personally.
You on, Josh?
Going twice?
Oh, there he is.
Mayor,
Josh,
I'm sorry, the 2 minutes I step away, my.
All right.
Look, I didn't catch any of the last 2 minutes of conversation.
I just shared information about the visit of your boss on the 16th and 17th to our next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very well, I'll be there as well, so we're making arrangements to be down. And I just wanted to say a quick congratulations to Director Benedicto.
Thank
Very
you.
excited to work with you. You've been so collaborative and professional and responsive and transparent that I'm very excited to work with you, so congratulations.
Thank you, likewise.
Josh, from your perspective, how are we doing at the towers?
We're doing well. I mean, Commissioner Jackson had mentioned our efforts with Little Rock Police Department. It's good to hear from his perspective that that's working and making an impact, so that's good. We've certainly been very engaged with our security contractor, Quality Security, in terms of who they're sending us. We've been very selective and I would say loud about who we want there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to hear that those efforts are working. Of course, we'll have some occasional issues, as we can expect when we house as many people as we do, but it's good to hear that from Commissioner Jackson's perspective, those efforts have been making a difference. Our main concern really is occupancy right now. So we have at Fred Paris, and I know I've talked to several of you here, of course, Connie and I have a long working relationship. As well, we meet with the Section 8 administrative team every other week to try to be proactive in getting people off the wait list and into their permanent homes with us. And so really our concern is at Paris and Powell. Fred Paris, we're currently at 24 vacants, which is beyond a number that anyone is happy about. And of course, our app contract allows for vacancy claim payments, so MHA is paying vacancy claims on those empty units, which I'm sure no one, we would love to not have to have a dollar of that paid to us. We would rather be housing those who need it. Same with Powell. Powell, we're at about a dozen vacancies right now, so those numbers that have grown pretty alarmingly the last 2 months. So we've been collaborating with Connie's team on what we can do for outreach efforts, and I know we had a robust discussion about it last month as well, Commissioner Anthony, on outreach. Our team, I'm confident our team on our end is doing everything in their control to, help foster the situation and move things forward, but we're just not getting it. So that's really our primary concern right now.
Well, Josh, I had one thing in particular. I think you received a complaint about trash. What was the resolution of that?
Chairman Law, are you speaking about Fred Paris Towers?
Yeah, Paris, uh-huh.
That's
Yeah,
always,
Director Benedicto and I communicated very quickly on that. We had, I believe 3 or 4 move-outs that occurred within 1 week for various reasons. And so we had to, of course, gut those to get them turned and prepped. We had everything, all the furniture and leftovers by that back shed. And we had contacted our maintenance supervisor, Andrew Boysher, was well ahead of it. He had contacted our hauler a few days before we knew we were gonna have all that out there, and they're just short drivers. So we resolved it within a day or two.
So it wasn't no big deal?
Excuse me?
So it wasn't no big deal? If you just a matter of just setting it out on the curb and waiting to be picked up?
It was not even on the curb, it was on our property back by, there's that shed behind the building.
Yeah, behind the building, it wasn't no big deal then, okay.
Josh,
It's all, that's all cleaned up.
Josh, my concern is over the numbers at Paris of 24 and Powell at 12. Especially, and I have to say to you, because I do interact not only from a Madison Heights perspective in Granite Mountain, but from a community capacity, I'm concerned about those numbers in lease-ups. When we hear from people who are complaining, and I don't mind calling you when someone says, I've been trying to get into Paris Towers and they won't work with me. So I am concerned that we might have a bottleneck there, and I'm gonna refer it back to now Director Benedicto to hopefully work with you to find out where that bottleneck might be in the number of 24 and 12, and when we know that there are people out there who are making an effort to get into those high rises. So those numbers do concern me. Again, we talked about this earlier with vouchers, but we also know that there are folks out there who are trying to just get into living spaces, and with the nights being as cold as what they are in Arkansas, if we've got space, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of an oxymoron when we got people who are trying to get in spaces and we got spaces, and we're not matching the two. So we'll defer that back to Director Benedicto to work with you to get that resolved.
Yeah, again, we're partners here. We need heads on beds. And I know I joined the meeting a few minutes late at the bottom of 11:30, but we have aligned. It's not an acceptance criteria issue on our end. I mean, we might have, so we don't consider credit at all, obviously, and then we've aligned our acceptance criteria to match very, very closely MHA's. It doesn't make sense to have a PDD situation where your criminal criteria doesn't match the landlord's. So it's very rare. There are situations where maybe there was a little bit of issue with them matching exactly in terms of criteria, but that's that's an exceptional circumstance. The vast majority of applicants we get from MHA's team end up calling one of our towers their homes. So we're in this together, we're partners, whatever we can think of to create those solutions. Obviously, we're open to those discussions and efforts. The curious thing is really Cumberland Towers, we're not having this concern. We have 10 vacants, but we have 5 pre-leased.
So about half of
We're
that.
working hard there, so we're, our goal is always to be on one hand, to have our vacants on one hand or less, and we're just not anywhere near that at Paris or Paul.
Sounds good.
Connie would like to say something.
Can I just address the issue with the vacancies? Thanks, Josh. As Josh mentioned, we have biweekly meetings, but I would recommend, one of the major issues that we're having as to why we have a big vacancy rate is because we're working with the homeless population, and we all know that they don't stay in one spot very long. So while we may have, and we do have well over 1,000 applicants just on our one-bedroom waiting list, when we reach out to them, no one is responding because they're not there anymore. So I'm recommending that somehow we change our admin plan on how we receive our applications. So right now, I'm asking if we can receive our real applications on a real-time basis. Meaning, if they call Josh, or if they come down to our office and say, I'm looking for housing, that we service them right then, give them the application, take them through the screening process because we have them. But if we just tell them to go online and place an application, by the time we get to that person, they're gone. And so because we have, our policy states that we have to send at least 2 letters out. That's at least 1 month. We have to wait at least a month before we can go on to the next list of people. So what I'm having my staff do now is just to purge that list. Meaning we're sending letters out saying, hey, are you still interested? If you're still interested, we'll leave you on the list. But 9 times out of 10, that list will be exhausted because they're homeless and they will not respond. So I am suggesting that we take applications on a real-time basis. As they walk in, as they call in, as they go to Josh, so that way we have people and we can get them leased up. But until then, we have to go by what our administrative plan says.
So that will require a change in our administrative plan.
Absolutely.
We have to make
But-
an addendum or,
I don't know how they got there because the board fought
How they
that. I don't know how that particular piece got there because the board fought that being added to the plan because we have always said that it didn't make sense for someone to come into the housing authority office and be sent somewhere else to get the help that they need. Now, I'm real concerned that they made it into the plan when that's always been our concern. That we are the housing authority, and when people come here, they should be able to get the help that they came in here for.
Especially if it's available.
Yes, yes,
As Josh said,
yes.
we have over 20+ vacancies. But,
So I,
so what do we need to do?
yeah, because we
well,
need to.
we need to do
Amendment.
an adjustment to our administrative plan, to change the way we accept applications. But first, we have to go through and do a purge on what we have there now. We just can't get rid of the people that we have on our list now. And so that's what my staff is doing now, is doing the purge, going through all of those names, sending out a bunch of letters.
How long before you get complete?
February 28th, we should be done with just
Is that right?
one waiting list and 1 bedroom size, because you have to remember, we have over 1,000 applicants that we have to send letters to. That's 1,000 individual envelopes that we have to stuff and mail.
And you got 3 waiting back.
Yeah, with 3 different sites.
But the
So,
question becomes also, Connie, are we reaching out to like Canvas Church and those entities where we know the homeless population frequents, and not only do they frequent those individual places, but that's where they keep their credentials, their birth certificates, their social security card, all those things, dealing with Paul and other stops within our community where the homeless population go and get meals, whether they're in Jericho Way, any of those places where they communicate on a daily basis.
right now, we're required to send letters to the the addresses that are on file. And so we do that. We do have a contact person over, I believe, at Jericho Way that, we try to communicate with if they see an individual. But that requires a lot of manpower, of which we really don't have. And so, again, if we can get people, as often as they call in to ask if we have available units, if we can take those people while we have them and place them, that's much better than, oh, hey, go on our waiting list and, you know, fill out an
Yeah,
application.
yeah.
And we'll call you, or, I'm sorry, we'll send you a letter out when some people don't even have addresses to send to. So, that's something we need to look at, and I think that would help greatly in our utilization rate over at the towers.
Okay.
And I will say quickly too, you know, our teams are trained that when we have someone just walk in off the street, our managers, our admin, our front desk are all trained to, first of all, sit them down, take them over to our business centers, get them logged into MHA's website, get them on the wait list, get their confirmation numbers, and then follow up with Connie's team. Now, we've also, you know, offered to help expedite things too. We are more than willing and have done in the past. Not only do we have the Gorman application, the LIHTC qualifying application they're gonna have to go through once they get off that wait list, but we will happily help them complete the MHA waitlist application and get them to Connie's team too, right then and there.
Okay.
So we're doing everything we can to help expedite
But
that
see,
process, but again, they do end up at the bottom of the wait list. Of course, we have to
Exactly,
follow,
yeah.
or Connie's team has to follow procedure on purging the wait list and preferences and all that goes with that.
Is the system where this wait list in, is it equipped to pick up duplicate entries?
Yes.
So
It is.
if a person files over there and they're already on our wait list,
Well, they'll file, what Josh is saying is they're helping them file on our waiting list. So you can go to any, computer or whatnot and apply on our database or on our waiting list. And that's what Josh is saying. He'll take an applicant when they walk in and help them apply to our waiting list. But again, they go to the bottom of the waiting list and they have to wait. They have thousands of people in front of them that we may not even be able to contact. So I'm hoping that in situations like that, that we have that person there. Let's get that information real time. Let's do it eligibility right then and there. If they're, you know, if they want the unit, let's house the person. Otherwise, we'll still have this issue with the vacancies.
so that's with the homeless preference in place, you got 1,000 folks.
Correct. On just one bedroom size.
Yeah, three.
So we're not talking about two
Out of this,
bedrooms and, you know, Powell, you know, Paris and Cumberland, you know, so we have a number of people. I would say we have well over 4,000 applicants across our waiting list.
But they're all homeless, we got that many
They're
homeless.
reporting that they're homeless, yes.
Oh, God, okay.
Yes. But when we reach out to them, they're not
That's-
available because they're not living in those units anymore.
Put a round table.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they would all be homeless, we just have a homeless preference.
Yes,
So
we have a
can
homeless
deny
preference,
someone-
correct, correct.
Right, so what percentage of them are homeless? Obviously, I can't say I don't have access to that wait list,
But the
but,
way our
The way our
the way our
system is,
database
yeah.
is set up, because of the preference, it sends everything out to the homeless
As
population
homeless,
first.
right, they get preference points, they.
Correct,
right.
All that, correct.
Correct.
Because of the definition, the way it's set up.
So you have more of a homeless preference than you do senior preference.
Right, we have a lot of homeless preferences there, yes.
Yeah, 'cause I see
Yes,
them all
we
the
have
time
to,
every
we
day.
have to address those first.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Josh,
And
will,
that's,
you seem like you have a team here at MHA that will be working on this process to see if it can be, how soon it can be resolved.
Expedited.
but I believe and trust that, and again, communication's key, so we talk with Connie's team every other week. Our managers are in constant communication with Connie's administrative team, so we just gotta keep pumping, but it really is about purging that wait list
Yeah.
aggressively,
Yeah,
following the regs, but
Yeah.
purging it aggressively, because for every one unit we have, you probably have to
Send
send it
someone.
to 10 people.
Somebody else,
Yeah,
yeah.
more than
You know,
that,
it's just the basic math of
Yeah.
it, so.
Okay, now we know what the problem is.
But see, that's why I say we deal with narrow, because see, some of these systems are so antiquated, and they don't make any exceptions, okay? Just like you were saying, Josh, with your homeless preference, and we know what a bottleneck is, but because of those systemic rules, we can't do nothing about it.
But in this case, this is our own administration plan.
Yeah, we can
That's
make
causing us-
changes,
That's
but,
causing the problem.
Right.
And again, we as the board did not advocate this.
no, I
The
remember
board
this was back.
advocated that,
As soon as they get in the door, go ahead and fill out
go
the
ahead and
paperwork.
have them. See, this is why
Right.
we are having a problem with this,
Right.
because this is not what we advocated.
Right, but I'm saying we need to address the whole time systemic changes that need to be done as to alleviate something, whether it's homeless, whether it's senior, whether it's just somebody walking in off the street. I mean, there need to be some systemic changes. But that's not through us, and in my opinion, that would be through NARA.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we can still be effective and also, at the same time, since it's gonna take a minute for us to change the admin plan, to start the admin plan changes
Yes.
while we are still waiting for you to
That's
purge.
exactly right.
So I would request that admin plan change, be worked on so it can be submitted to the board.
And very briefly, we had spoken, I can't recall if it was December, November's board meeting when our CEO Brian Swan was on, about what would we have maybe done differently at the RAD conversions here. And the friction that can exist because we converted from senior to family. So, that might warrant another conversation as well, because there is friction for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
We hear about it.
We all do, for sure.
That was not, we didn't advocate for that either, so
Nope.
we got overridden in that process as well.
Anything else?
Thanks, Josh. Looking forward to
All right,
seeing you in
Josh, appreciate
February.
you.
All right, see you next month, thank you.
All right, sir.
Take care.
Bye-bye, you too.
Mr. Jackson,
Last.
take your
but not
time.
least,
Yeah, Take your time.
Well, it's certainly good to be back, so thank you guys for your patience in my absence, Still recovering from surgery and then recovering from COVID. And I will, Chairman, with all due deference and respect, tell you, put that mask on.
Yeah.
I was down for 3 weeks.
Ooh.
So, I was told that some recover in a couple of days. It was in about a week. It was 3 weeks of me, and I guess everything else in life, I always get the short end of the stick. But I'm excited to be back. Our team is aggressively working and congratulations.
Thank you.
Director Benedicto, I was calling you director at first, so now I call you director with a big D. Director Benedicto, in direction on building out the MHA website. We'll hopefully, in the next week or so, have some internal template pages for you to view on how we extended the homepage design to the internal pages as we move to try to get that in a testing site available for Director Benedicto and commissioners as you see fit to view. We're also working on a PR plan that we probably need to revisit Director Benedicto to talk through. I heard something a moment ago that just perked my ears when the chairman said we need to do a better job of selling Section 8 tenants. Certainly, that's not the responsibility solely of MHA. It's a stigma that's been associated with Section 8 that predates everyone in this room. But we can certainly, through some of our PR efforts, show the variety and array of those community structures, those family structures and persons who benefit from Section 8 housing opportunities. So as we talk about our overall PR plan, we certainly hope that other members of the press will start to frequent some engagement with us outside of the board meeting so you can learn a little bit more about some of the success outcomes that we're having. That's going to live in a number of deliverables that we talked through, the newsletter piece and some number of other components that we're going to be putting in place. So we're busy working through that, and things are moving along quite nicely. Do you have any questions about any specific deliverable that you might want to ask of me? I'll try to field that question, but in just reiterating, right now, website design is still moving forward. PR planning is in place, and we'll be working with Director Benedicto, hopefully with something that she blesses and feels good about, and then we can make it available to the board for review as well. You know, upon approval, we will then execute. And I use PR plan loosely because it will also consist of some advertising components. No slight toward our friends in the press. It's easy to get a negative story, it's kind of hard to get a positive
Yeah,
one.
buddy.
So some of our success outcomes, we may have to control our own narrative with some paid activity. But then as we create better exposure to some of the things that we're doing, hopefully we'll still see a shift on the earned media side that talks about all the great things we're doing.
You know,
Folks' lives.
because we do have different attitude going into certain things, and certainly the press is also one of those issues that we need to talk about, because of the manner in which issues pertaining to this board and the board activities is handled in the media. From how many, and I want prerequisites by saying it's not a complaint, it is an observation of what takes place, and it's a factual observation. No matter, you know, some people don't get 3-4 year requests in an entire year. We get that many in a week sometimes. We also want to talk about, you know, what types of stories they go after. Just sharing a little bit that we are in a pandemic, and there are some situations where COVID is shutting down places. That has not been our situation, but that is not how we as a board, and again, we have to stop being quiet about how we are covered and how the statements get out there and really how we're treated in the public. But in this incident with the local media and our present reporter, you know, COVID is out there, came out to Madison Heights, you know, and of course we've had her at Madison Heights before, knocked on the door of residents, and I had, you know, we have no problem about you inquiring about COVID outbreaks, which we didn't have one, with the residents, but it seems that the reason for being there might have been covert, in that while the visit was being made, a picture of our board was displayed to the residents, which gives it a bias and racist connotation. And we cannot ignore those types of behavior. So I would ask that you also bring the head of the newspaper to the table. Because there are various pieces we want to talk about, even to the point that integrity is a question, because some of the issues that have been published were not even the truth.
But what we're gonna do, and again, it's a powerful statement.
No, that's the
One that,
truth.
I probably talked to you outside of the board meeting before you echoed it, but you are Commissioner Anthony.
We're not hiding in the back in the
Yes,
corner in the
ma'am.
dark
We'd
anymore.
never ask you to.
No,
Wouldn't
sir.
have the strength
We're
to
gonna-
stop you anyway.
No,
But
no.
I would say this
I'm
right
70
here,
now.
that as we work through the PR plan, Director Benedicto,
Yes, sir.
we want to give all members of the press an opportunity to be exposed to the success outcomes that we have in place.
Success.
And to be honest, I'm not concerned about as many negative leaning stories that get published. I just want to make sure there's some balance. So as
Integrity.
you produce these stories, I want you to also be aware of, i.e. what Commissioner Jackson just shared about the great work that Connie's office is doing. That work right there might seem trivial for some, but we just changed the life of a family. But to be fair to the press, we have to open ourselves up in a way so they can be exposed to that information. Oftentimes, the only way they can learn about what we're doing is in this forum or through a FOIA request. So one of the things that we're going to be doing as we move forward with our PR efforts is how do we create more active engagement with the press, and that might be in additional instruments that we create, i.e. the newsletter or even a component that we add to the website. But also to your point, Commissioner Andrew, ongoing engagement with newsroom directors.
Yes,
with,
sir. Yes,
with,
sir.
With editors at print pieces, as we start to create a more collaborative communication environment, so they can learn how we feel, and then it allows them an opportunity to share, well, here's where we want to go with the story, and what we hope more than anything is an opportunity to review some of these stories with facts and truth before they are actually published.
But, you know, I come from a community where the newspaper is kind of the soul of community, in the fact that it is not unbalanced, it is not biased, it is not constantly thriving off of negative media of any source. It does have a true value other than the obituaries. So has not been the experience, and this board has engaged, because we have invited the media out. We've had an attorney to take people on tours. The thing that was so prevalent in this situation is that this same media was in the room when we were dealing with the former property management company about the many complaints that not only was coming in here, but was going to the mayor's office about life essentials. And there were no visits from the media to see how the tenants felt then. So again, when you talk about balance, I'm all for balance. We can take a hit, but when it is direct, it is calculated and callous, we need to talk about it. So I'm asking you and the director here to bring the powers that be to the table so we can show them in their own writings where it was not
And then
truthful.
what also we hope to do, you know, with media that's present, we want it to be a collaborative environment. I don't want it to be an adversarial one. But
Only
if
if
you
they
do,
bring the
but,
fight.
yes, ma'am, but in the event you do go and you make contact with our tenants, then we would love to hear the findings. And if they go out and they have some concerns with how we're providing service, we need to know that and we want to do better. But if they're praising our efforts, we want that in the paper too. Or we want that in, you know, on television too. So I think it's just a matter of, we're gonna be working very aggressive in 2022. Just create that collaborative environment where we can learn from each other and go from there. But your concerns are noted,
Yeah.
Commissioner. I think we understand clearly. We'll keep rocking and rolling, and we'll go from there.
There was a young lady who was a part of our program, and I don't know whether or not she was Section 8, but we have a home ownership program.
Yeah.
And she came through the program and was able to become a homeowner. You know, those are sort of success stories. And I don't know if she was Section 8.
No, she was FSS. She was FSS.
Same thing. I
No,
mean,
no.
I mean, not same
Program.
thing,
Yeah.
but the one of our programs that had a very positive outcome toward what we want to be, represent us and our accomplishments and that
Well,
sort of
Commissioner
thing.
Lindsay, what we'll do, and what we talk about in the 2022, we will work with Connie and other directors and let them kind of share on a monthly basis. We may not necessarily have stories pushed out monthly because we don't want to get too voluminous.
Right.
But we will huddle with directors in other areas throughout the agency to find out where we believe those meaty news stories are, what are those success outcomes as we shape those. And the question becomes, is that a story that we pitch to news media and they develop a whole story around it? Is that something that we produce our own video and put on our website and push out and control our own narrative? Make no mistake about it, we still are gonna have to be very deliberate
Selective,
in creating our own narrative, and as we create our own narrative, we'll get more responses from the press in terms of their intrigue. But, you know, the nature of how I've been aware of how this sources information from us is inherently going to lean toward either neutral or negative, because in this form, we're talking about the business of operation.
Yes.
We don't get a chance to talk about how it's changing the lives of folks. We're talking, as Tamara just talked about, we're talking about the X's and the O's. Money is always gonna be something that's going to pique the interest of those. But what we've gotta do is outside of this forum, give the press an opportunity to engage with us as well, to ensure that they become exposed to more positive stories. Now, I can't say that's gonna stop
No.
No,
I don't think
no,
that
no,
is.
it's not. No, it's not. And, but
But we
there
want
is great,
equalization.
there is great due diligence that happens in this room, okay? There is great due diligence of duties and structures and very tough decision-making that goes on in this room. But it can't always be the negative about, oh, the board did this and the board did that, and you can't even, and I mean, when you compare us to other organizations that we hear from, or we hear what's really going on from other entities, it can't always be us. It just cannot. And even at the, it has to be so salacious that it gets ink. And we're going, who in the hell did that? We weren't even there. So, I mean, to me, it's the transparency, the accountability, and the integrity of how we are dealt with. And yeah, for me, it is a racial issue. I mean, when you've seen it before, you know it when you see it again. So again, we would like to, the only way to deal with it for me is to go to the source.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if it's coming from the handlers or outside, influence, or if these are directives. But I think you go to the source and I mean, that's the privilege that anybody else has, so why should we be not out there?
We appreciate the idea. It's not my words, they were written 2,000 years ago, and all I get an understanding.
I get it, and that's what we want. That's what we want.
If we get everyone in the room and start to have some understanding, we can go from there. So with that being said, along with some of those deliverables that you've outlined
got
for
it.
us to get done, some of that broader activity we're gonna talk about as well, Director Benedicto, on how do we increase the frequency we engage? What does that look like in terms of giving them opportunity to field any questions they might have about what's going on, and just build a stronger dialogue with the press as a whole. So good deal. Is there anything else?
CACH is getting phone service, yay! And internet services on Wednesday. So, we can begin the process of, internet and domain and email addresses, after Wednesday.
Okay, and then of course, we're working, I'll respond to you, I elected not to talk to that, I don't know if we need to keep it separate, but we're certainly working on that web piece for you as well. That's pretty much what we've been authorized to move with so far. We'll also need to revisit CHAC. I got sick right before I was policing some things, so I needed to check, but I wasn't 100% sure if my team ever got the signage on the doors. Did we get the sign? Okay, I'll check on that when I sit down here, so making sure that gets done as quickly as possible. And then, of course, any other deliverables that you might have, we'll continue to work on. And then, of course, as I vacillate back and forth for MHA, our ongoing engagement, ensuring that our public relations and government relations activity continues to be as healthy and strong. And Director Benedicto, certainly you can appreciate that. Not only do we have an audience in the press, but audience in some of our other stakeholders. We need to start to increase the frequency in which we engage with them, help them to understand our vision. Because oftentimes when we come to the table, especially when it comes to development of affordable housing, Commissioner Anthony, Director Benedicto, we have a lot of well-intentioned players in the room, Chairman, but everybody wants it done their way. But they want to use us to do it their way. So we have to help them to understand, here's our vision, and create a collaborative environment. And so we're still working some of those things, especially cross streets, some of the great work that Kevin's doing over there, but making sure that we're locked in step. Is there anything else to hold us? Okay, well, good, thank you.
Glad to see you back on your feet.
Thank you, it's glad to, feels good to be back on my feet. Absolutely.
Okay.
Director?
All right, so, no new business, but we do have 3 resolutions.
Well, new business. The property on Main Street. What the status of that?
2701.
2701 Main Street, okay,
Well, there's
so,
more than 26.
yes,
Yeah,
it is.
okay.
It goes to next
Oh, that whole
door.
block.
Yes,
Yeah.
where the tennis court and all that
Yeah.
is, yes. So I provided Chairman Lowe with a copy of the warranty deed.
Yep.
And y'all should have a copy of
Yeah,
it.
Right.
yeah.
And so, this property was apparently donated,
To MHA.
yeah,
Okay.
quite some time ago.
Okay.
And, we were able to get records of that, and I provided a copy of it to Chairman, so to share with you all as well. So it is the property of MHA, and it was donated by a private citizen.
And the deal is, I know that piece of property is not in PIC. and
It's not who?
In the pit.
Public Information Center. Where all properties that are bought with restricted money should be stored. I know it's not in PIC. However, and I must let it be known, I do expect some pushback from it, even though the land was donated.
But that's the business we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what?
That's the business we're in right now.
Was not bought with restricted funds, okay? Had nothing to do with housing,
It was just a
But
plain
we
old
got the
donation.
title.
yeah.
But we
Yeah.
got-
It was ours, I mean,
I mean,
what happened was, and how all that occurred, back when Tuxedo Court was
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
built,
Ooh,
okay?
boy, that is.
There was a strip of land that they did not use, okay? And we're trying to buy out people who were, they considered part of the project, okay? Well, this one lady just went on ahead and donated the land, okay? Wasn't bought with any HUD funds whatsoever. And sometime later, I want to say late 70s, that a partnership with the city, when they built that gymnasium down there with us, but it ended up being ours anyway because it was on our land. So, make a long story short, property was donated, and way I'm feeling right now,
You talked about me.
Come on.
I mean, way I'm feeling right now, I mean, I'm in that mood, okay? That go ahead and sell it, okay? And we'll deal with the rest, okay?
Well, if the paperwork is in order,
Yeah.
it is not bought with restriction fund, are we operating any differently than any other housing authority
No.
would be operating? And
No.
I think that's the question.
That's it.
And if we're not doing anything illegal, and we are not operating with outside of the constraints of any other housing
Right.
authority, if the treatment for us is different, then we need to know what that different is, and why that treatment of us is different. Again, we need to call it what it is, if that's what it is, and
The
keep
only
it
way to find
moving,
out is to proceed.
and keep it moving.
Keep it moving, that's right. I mean, that's what we all
Like I
about.
said, there comes a point in time when
Situation.
That is,
The deed don't, I don't either.
exists, but, you know, certainly at this point, somebody should be able to give you an answer or put you off some more.
Don't wanna see
Hey,
it. They don't wanna see it.
I'm like I told you, that filter of mine,
Yeah, well,
it's gone, okay?
let's go ahead.
Well, then let us know what you want to do as your next
Yeah.
steps.
I mean, I ain't trying to put on that big red nose and that big red wig and them size 26 shoes. I ain't trying to do that,
Only
okay?
don't play that.
I ain't trying to do that,
New year,
okay?
new attitude. You can always
So-
beat people down so far.
We'll keep it moving. We'll keep it moving.
Well, like I said, next steps or whatever needs to be, if the church needs to be notified, they could share it. that-
Well, the first, we've identified that.
Yeah, we've identified that it belongs to
That's our
us.
part.
Yeah, that it belongs to us.
You're right.
We
need to
identified
get
it.
it assessed, or
What, praise?
Yeah, praised.
They've already made an offer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they've already made, we have a contract, okay?
Yeah,
Oh, well, y'all move.
Yeah, we have a contract.
well,
Is
if
that
they
right?
put you in jail, we'll get you out.
I ain't trying to go there, okay?
Promise we won't let you spend the night.
I ain't trying to go there. But yeah, we have a contract.
And we move
In fact,
forward.
Rocky is the one that's handling the contract. Rocky Herman. Yeah, Rocky's the one that's handling the contract.
And we go forward.
Yeah.
We go forward.
I like to say, hey, let's go for it.
All right.
All right, Director.
All right, so, got 3 resolutions, 2 of them, dealing with MOUs, authorizing the approval of a memorandum of understanding between Metropolitan Housing Alliance and Central Arkansas Housing Corporation for the utilization of MHA staff for CHC purposes. That's the one I'm gonna get some information from Sylvester Smith.
I would ask that we table 6804 and 6805.
Okay.
We do not have the resolutions in hand because they are being hammered out by the attorney for CAHC to get some formal agreements in our relationship between CAHC and MHA. So I would ask that we table those two resolutions.
So move table until
Further notice?
February it was at February 20th meeting?
17th.
17th meeting, okay.
Okay. Well, that brings us to Resolution 6806, and as you can note, the numbers before that is 2022-01, so we'll be doing that this year, Chairman advised, so we can keep up with our resolutions by
Amen.
year,
Mhm.
month. Authorizing the transfer of $22,500 from unrestricted funds to the central office cost center. And you have that resolution behind your agenda, your minutes, actually.
And so just to let the public know, this is not this will maintain our budget.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And it won't hurt us as far as our unrestricted funds, because we still almost have almost $1 million in that, so.
And that's another issue we need to address,
Which one is that?
the unrestricted funds.
Well, we got to roll up our sleeves and get out there and do some work.
And do what we gotta do.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, do some work.
Motion to pass the resolution 6806.
Second.
Been moved and properly second for the adoption of resolution 20-22-01-6806. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All opposed, none. And the reason why for the new numbering system, just like Director Benedicto said, it's for the ease of filing. We know the year that they passed and the month that they passed, and we would know the date of the board meeting. So it's just a matter of making, keeping track of our paperwork. And putting a unique numbering system on it that tells us when and where. So all we got to do is go put our hands on it.
Okay.
Executive session?
Negative.
I have no issues.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I got lunch out there.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we move to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, none. We adjourn.
Have a good day, Commissioner
One time-
Peterson.
All right, Brandy.
I was trying to meet with the
I didn't.
finance for
I'm not
us
studying.
prior to, I'd like to get this started.
We've been
It won't take long.
recording
Just so I can
As I
go
said,
through
we
some
want
of
to open up
those
Penny Gate.
portions I had.
I'm tired.
Expedite some of
But I think
And
it's
we
one
have
of those
been
things, so that's why I didn't
and we
Okay.
have just been
But
good
Yeah.
kids. Get off the porch.
just
No,
come here
I get
like
off.
you did.